All right, without continuing with our main assembly, let's talk about how to get the rest of our platform looking like a platform. And one of the things that I want to point out with this is that you have a couple choices. You can do this just like our staircase, and you can make the side look like this. Or you can create a finished 8x8 box and then a finished 8x1 box that'll go in front of it. So I'm actually, in the last time I built this, I did it this way. I'm actually going to do it this way this time. So the reason I'm doing that is because I like chaos and malarkey. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this right here, and I'm going to cut out a piece at 8 feet. It's the same as, it's my little guy, the same as the width of our platform. It's right here. 8 feet, 8 feet verified. There we go. And I'm going to cut out the 8 feet this way as well. So our platform is 8 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet. So I could do some math, but I also know the height of it is 6 inches with 6 inches, which is a foot. And then it is no longer a foot because of the thickness of our material. So it's going to be 1 tick shy of a foot. What else that we have already cut is 1 tick shy of a foot? Well, I'll tell you what we've already cut that's 1 tick shy of a foot. The pieces for our towers, which are already cut. So, oh hey, look at that. They're not so bad in size. Let's use that. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off right there. Essentially, I'm going to cut at 8 feet. So on this one, as opposed to all the other ones where I've been doing a short, I've told you I wanted to do all 4 sides the same instead of doing a short side, a long side, and a short side. I'm not going to do that this time. Chaos and anarchy ensues. I'm going to go ahead and do an 8 foot, an 8 foot, and a just shy of an 8 foot. Actually, this one's already just shy of 8 feet. So I'm going to do 8 feet. Eight foot, and this one needs to be, I'm gonna come down here to the little, you can't see it, I'm gonna adjust my camera, but there are little bits down here, and the width of 2 thicknesses of mat board is 1 of these larger ticks down here. So I'm gonna mark that with my knife and come up. When it looks like I'm freehanding, I'm not actually freehanding. You just can't see the line because the camera is not picking it up. But this way I have 2 long and 1 short. And if you're asking yourself, Jennifer, why are you making 2 long, 1 short instead of 1 long, 2 short? Well, we're not going to see one of the sides of this platform. One of the sides of this platform is going to be completely covered by the other stairs and by that wall. So if I'm not going to see it, then I don't need to build it. So I'm going to do a long side. A long side and a short side. So I'm going to do a long side, a short side, and a long side. Short side's not quite short enough. That's okay. We'll just trim it down a little bit. As you can see here, if I line it up, oh, maybe not. Maybe it is short enough. It was pushing at my pieces, and I don't like that. I want to be delicate. I'm gonna put a little glue right on the outside edges. Just want to carefully attach these guys together. Being very diligent and careful. Now it does pose a problem, that same problem we had before, that these are not quite perfectly cut. So it looks like this is the only one that's really bad, so we're gonna let that dry and then I'll trim that off. All right, so from our 8-foot sections right here, we can also work on, here is our step. Our step, I think this is our step right here. Oh no, we may have accidentally used our step. I think that's what happened here. I think this was cut down to less than a foot. No, that's our step. Since I pulled this guy out anyway, I might as well trim him before I put him back in instead of after. If I have to replace that piece, I don't have to replace it again and again and again. But mistakes happen. Try and embrace and double check and be careful and deliberate in your cutting and your measuring. But ultimately, just accept that you're going to have to make a mistake. And you're going to have to fix a mistake. It's a lot easier just to not worry about it and fix it if you need to fix it. Because sometimes spending all your worry and energy, or your energy on worry, can be just as bad as not actually doing the project at all. Now, this one right here, we've hit one of our first problems is not the right word, but desperate needs for reinforcement. This is a 4x4 inch real world size, which means that we need to put a reinforcement piece under here. It doesn't have to be the height of the whole platform though, and it doesn't have to go the whole width of the platform either. It can just be a piece that runs across most of the bottom, like so. We just need to make sure that something else is creating a stress in a different direction for when we go to paint this later. Because what happens is if there isn't anything keeping it straight in this direction, we could also have done the brace this way. We only need one and we only need it in one direction. But this will allow us to paint this a little later without it warping on us. Okay. So, there we go. Now it does bend a little bit. So if we care about that or we think that's a problem, one, it will bend less after it's dry, but if it bends too much for our liking right now, we will want to make sure this support is the same height, and then it'll hit the ground when we pull it and push it. So I'm gonna let this dry because all that pushing was not great for it right at the moment. This is our step. Hey step, how you doing? So this step is gonna be 6 inches tall, which is small. It's very small. That's actually about the height of 1/4 of an inch, but it's not, because 1/4 of an inch in 1/2 inch scale is 6 inches. So we have to do 1/4 of an inch minus a tick. So we need 3 of these ticks as a full thickness of an item. So we're gonna go ahead and take that off a bigger piece. We are gonna go ahead and take that off this piece over here. And the reason that is that it can be very difficult to get a tiny piece cut off of that. It's much easier to go ahead and use a bigger piece to cut your tiny pieces off of. So I'm gonna do that. So 3 ticks, and come in here and slice it free. Come here and slice it free. All right, so just like the other one, we aren't gonna see. So if this is sitting down like this, we have the archway here, the big door here, the other piece here, and the staircase here. Other way, staircase here. The step is right here. We are not gonna see the back side of that step. So we actually only need to cover one side of the step, or 3 sides of the step rather. I guess technically 2 sides of the step. Anyway, we definitely don't need all 4 sides of the step covered is what I'm trying to say out loud. So I'm gonna do one here, nice and tiny, and I'm going to heat it with the hot glue. I accidentally turned the hot glue gun off, so I have to wait for it to heat back up again, which by the time it heats back up, I won't need it to tack these two guys together anymore. They'll be tacky on their own. So tacky. So the other part is I'm going to need to do 2 side pieces. Now I really probably only need 1 side piece because I'm only going to see one of those sides. But the other side is useful for support because remember, again, we are going to paint this, and gluing it to the other piece will give us stability, but it won't give us that much stability. We want to surround the piece all the way around. So I'm going to come in here and place that in. And come in and place that in here. And that will give us a nice finished piece. We're going to let that dry, and then we're going to glue it to the platform front. And we are going to continue with gluing our other pieces together. So this is where I like to use hot glue a little bit more, just because tacking some of these bigger pieces down is useful with hot glue. But this piece should line up to the back edge like this. And I'm going to go. So I made another mistake. It doesn't go there. It goes. Goes here, and it goes here. This step is in line with that step. So I'm not too worried about that because this step is going to cover that up. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this person in, this little guy in, and add some glue. Place it on here. And it might be time for us to take a break today. Specifically, I've been recording a lot in a row for this video series, and I've just made a bunch of mistakes in a row. And sometimes it's important to remember that you're a human being, and model making can be a very difficult, focused thing. And so it can be a little bit trying to get all these things lined up and to be careful and deliberate all the way through this process. So I'm going to add that glue back in, hold that till it gets tacky, and this is where this will line up, and I'm going to go ahead and add glue in here, add a dab of hot glue at the front end and at the back end, and then place these two together in the correct orientation. And the reason I knew that this was off is because this wall was way too big. It was hanging out the back side by about 1.5 inches, and that just didn't seem right. So I went ahead and checked on that. But I'm going to squeeze these two together, and then in just a little bit I'm going to go ahead and place this guy right here and glue it together, and that will finish all our major pieces being installed together. And then we'll move on to decoration. So once we have that all tacked up, we're going to go ahead and mark and create a couple of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a support here and here, and I need one on either side of the window. So I'm gonna go ahead and take 3 pieces, come over here and cut all 3 of these to the right height. Be careful. Be careful. Alright, so I'm going to put glue on the edge. And I want to work from this interior corner out, because as I add other pieces to it, it will become more and more difficult for me to add them one at a time. So as I add these pieces, these support pieces. Now, again, you can do this in whatever order you want to do this. You can create this in whatever way that you want to create this. This is me using some of these pieces for multiple purposes. Like this wall over here is being used as a support for this wall and this wall, and for itself. And this wall is therefore serving as a support for it, and this wall is serving as a support for it, so it should handle paint just fine. And then I don't have to put a support on this edge, to be completely honest with you. I just want to. I think it's going to look weird if there's not some depth to the edge of this wall. Similar to the way that when we're done, I'm going to put a strip of paper across the top so that it looks finished. But I think that this is going to make a much nicer looking edge. I think that this is going to make a much nicer looking edge. Should probably speak up so that you can hear me. All right, so I'm gonna glue here, glue here, glue here, and those and that is gonna have to be it for today. I'm gonna have to take a break. So we're gonna look at some details, which is going to include molding and stuff on the walls. We're going to build this out to be a dimensional door, and we're going to put banisters on this, but I'm going to have to do that in a different sitting. All right.